Hey, how y'all doing? It's Sharonda, and hey, how y'all doing? And today I am here with my October reading wrap up. So let's go ahead and get into this thing, shall we? So hey, how y'all doing? I hope everything is going okay for you, and we're gonna go ahead and get right on into it. Started off with my stats for this month. So I read, according to Storygraph, I read a total of 13 books and 3,401 pages. This was a combination of some physical books, mostly e-books, including ARCs, and it's also like mixing near some of the books, especially through my Kindle Unlimited library. I had Alexa read them to me. So it was a pretty decent, good month. I'm not mad at it. Yeah, I got some books read. So first book I'm going to start off with, it is an ARC that I received through Avon, and we have He Sees You When You're Sleeping, by Alta, Hensley. This is a Christmas stalker romance, and I do believe there are two books right now. I don't know if she's going to go further than two books, but there are two books right now in this series. And for the most part, I like this book. I ended up giving it 2.7 or 2.5 stars, either 2.5 or 2.75 stars, but anyway. So in this book we have Chloe and Jack. Jack, of course, is the stalker. Jack is just really a shy, firefighter. He has this big huge crush on Chloe, and he doesn't know how to approach her, which is where the stalking comes in. And they meet. They're also like next door neighbors as well. He was like doing little things for her, and she thought it was other people, but it was actually him. But anyway, they eventually run into each other, where he finally meets her at this coffee shop, which is one of her favorite places to be. And this relationship starts off between them from there. Also, Chloe is like an influencer. She models jewelry and stuff like that, and I think she's also trying to make her own jewelry or something to that effect. But anyway, for the most part, I like this book. I mean, it's a stalker romance. It gives you the stalking vibes. I just felt like the pacing was a little, slow throughout the read, and sometimes I just did not get like a vibe between Chloe and Jack. And I get it, he's stalking her, so it's like, what vibe? But with these stalker romances, he's supposed to be all dark, dangerous, and all that other stuff. And for the most part, for me, it was an okay read. I liked it for what it was. I don't think it gave me the stalker vibes, that generally comes with these stalker romances. It didn't give me that, but it was a cute romance. I didn't get like the whole attraction between Jack and Chloe, but it is what it is. Then we have The Crownless King by Dria Anderson. This is a new release, the first book that is going to be inside her the South USA series, which is going to be pretty much a vampire romance series. In this book we have Levi, who is like the unofficial king of the vampires, but he is like king of the vampires, but he don't, it's like the role was kind of like almost kind of like forced upon him or whatever. But anyway, in Levi's romance, he meets Amaya, who is a chaos witch. And Amaya comes across Levi's path because her uncle stole something from him. And of course he gets, because why are you stealing stuff from the king of the vampires, you dummy? But anyway, that's how Amaya comes across him. But Levi and Amaya are fated mated to be together, but there's also this thing is where within this series you have it where vampires are almost like at the, you know, at the bottom of the totem pole of species inside of this series, and Levi is like sick of all of that, and he's trying to get the vampires, you know, to be back at the top of the food chain basically. So he's, you know, they have this whole excuse me, forbidden romance because they're not supposed to be together. And but you know, Levi was not playing them damn ball-headed games or whatever. Amaya got on my goddamn nerves a whole lot throughout this read, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna let her ass rock, okay, for my guy Levi. But it was good for the first book in the series. Levi's also having some problems throughout this book where he's part of this council, and of course they don't really like him like that, but they really can't fuck with him, you know what I'm saying? So he's having like some, you know, some of the council members are, you know, in the mind to betray him and things like that. But basically throughout the read we have it where Amaya is pretty much fighting this attraction that she has for Levi. But like I said, Levi was not playing no games with her. He wanted Amaya, and her uncle kind of like messing up, you know, puts her right in a position, or so he thought, you know, put her right in the position for him to finally get them together or whatever. And then with her being a chaos witch, we also have her story where she is struggling to take care of her mother, because the longer these chaos witches use their magic or whatever, they slowly start losing their mentals or whatever, and she is kind of like stuck with, you know, not stuck, but you know, she is like the primary caretaker for her mother, so she has to worry about that when she's forced to move in with Levi on this compound, because she has to bring her mother as well. And then there's like this revisionist history within the series that's going to be as well, because we have the whole North versus South story going on, and pretty much the paranormals are in the South, and you know, humans and some paranormals are in the North. But it's basically, I think there's going to be like a war between, because the humans, of course, humans are going to human, and they want to control the paranormals, and the paranormals is like, nah, F y'all, we not doing all of that. So I think it's there eventually is going to lead up to a war inside of this book, because at the end of it, we have it where Levi is slowly amassing, you know, his army, you know, because the humans are trying to bring like basically, you know, some white vampires or whatever from across, you know, from across the pond. They're trying to like bring them in, trying to start some trouble, you know, and also trying to cause like some infighting between the paranormals in the North. So I think she has a very good setup for this series, and I'm looking forward to what she's going to do with it further. There's also a prequel to this first book, which is One Night, One Bite, because Levi has this this guard. You know, he's like the king, and by the end of this book, he's not just king of the vampires, but he's slowly becoming king of the South. Hot damn, okay. And you know, he has this guard that protects him. In the One Night, One Bite, we have Sebastian's story, and he gets together with a fire witch. So Levi's like slowly like building this army. Like Sebastian has a fire witch, and he has a chaos witch. Like they're gonna be a very powerful ass crew, and I'm dying to see where we get the stories or the romances with the other guards, because let me tell you something, they were cracking me up inside of this book, especially with Amaya just being hard-headed and all this other stuff. Like, it was hysterical, some of the scenes. I was just like, girl. But yeah, really good series. If you love vampire romances, definitely add this to your TBR. Both books, the prequel and Levi's book, is currently on Kindle Unlimited, or you could just go right to her website and purchase the books. Then we have the Right Side of Paradise by Shon, which is male, why choose romance, male, female. And basically inside of this book, we have Harlow, who has this bucket list that she wants to get through for the summer when she returns home. And this bucket list includes having this romance with 4 guys that she grew up with, and one of them just happens to be her stepbrother. Okay, their parents are no longer married when we go inside of the book. It was her mother and his father, I believe, and they're like divorced or whatever, but they still like have like these family like dinners and stuff like that. You know how your kids get grown, and as families you have dinner with your kids and all that. So it's kind of like that. But they fell in love with each other growing up and stuff like that. So what I love about Sean's romance is just, she's just very good at just writing the romance and getting us to fall in love with all of the characters in this why choose relationship that that these folks choose to have. I just liked everybody. I ended up rating this one on 3.75 stars. I like the book. I like the characters. I love Harlow. And then we have Rico, Soul, and Kristen. They've all been like best friends or whatever, like growing up or whatever. So my main issue with this book was the backflashes, and I generally do not have backflashes or whatever, because we get them as they're growing up, and we're getting Hollow's backstory, growing up, and how she had like some uncomfortable times or whatever. But those flashbacks just like, it made the book, like, for me, just long. And I was just like ready to just like let's hurry up and get through this story. And then the other thing I like about her why choose romances, because I am a fan of, like, if you have 2 men, 3 men, 4 men, whatever, hunching on this lady, why the swords ain't crossing? What, like, why they not touching? And then, like, I want to see that. You know what I'm saying? I want to see that on page. And I love that. She gives you all of that. And then also 2 of the fellas inside of this why choose relationship are also in a romance. So it was just perfect. Really, really just like enjoyed the story. Loved it. Then we have The Seamstress by S.J. Stewart, which is a paranormal romance. I'm quite sure it is. It is a reimagined fairy tale as well. I think it's that one, the one that was, I want to say Thumbelina so bad, but I can't remember offhand. I'll put it on screen. But anyway, inside of this story, we have Raspo and what was the guy's name? Luther. And basically throughout this story, we have it where Luther is fighting this council that pretty much betrayed Raspo, both of them. Luther is slowly getting his memories back. Raspo can't remember anything, and basically this council is using her because she seems things back together, time, memories, or whatever. And while this council is doing like nefarious shit, of course, they're using her to go back and like correct the things that that they're doing this nefarious shit on. So, and we have Luther pretty much going throughout the book trying to get Raspo to get her memories back, and also fighting this council because he like, the fuck y'all on, like, nah. So it's a really good, I enjoy it. I like for the most part, I like S.J. Stewart's paranormal romances. I like her romances in general. They're pretty they're pretty cute, but this one was good, and I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. So if you're into like reimagined paranormal fairy tales, then definitely add this one on. Luther was from hell. He was able to control, like, the 3-headed dog, Cybrus, or anyway. So good story. Then we have Extremity by Nicholas Binge. I hope I'm saying that right. This was an ARC that I received through Tor. This is a novella length book. It is a sci-fi mystery. I enjoyed this book so freaking much. It was so good. I don't think I probably did a long time ago, like not offhand, but anyway, inside this book we have these three cops, two detectives and one just regular old police officer who's trying to become a detective. But anyway, the story is also based set in the UK, and they are trying to solve this string of murders that are currently going on. One of the detectives, Julia, is actually no longer on the police force. What happened with Julia? What had happened with Julia was this. Okay, so with Julia, she was a cop. She went undercover. Again, some nefarious shit went down, and rich and powerful people were involved. So you know what generally happens when rich, greedy, powerful people are involved. Julia ended up losing her job, but anyway, they bring her back. One of her old partners decided to bring her back. As a consultant for these current string of murders that are going on, because some of the people that are being murdered are tied to this past, this previous case that Julia went undercover on. Listen, this book gives you like Invasion of the Body Snatcher vibes. We have time travel, aliens. The book was crazy as hell, and what I really loved is that the author did a really good job of fitting everything that needed to be told, like telling the complete story inside this novella length book. It was so good because pretty much we're getting like Julia with her trauma, being dragged back in and trying to figure out like what's going on, and she wants her own revenge. They trying to keep her, like we can't have her ex-partner and the other cop, they trying to keep her from trying to like murdering these damn people or assisting in murdering these damn people that made her lose her damn job. Like the story was crazy as hell, and I enjoyed it a lot. Listen, Mark. Nicholas, you ain't even had to do Mark like that. You ain't even had to do Mark like that. I knew somebody was gonna get got at the end of this damn story. I had it like it was like in my soul, in my spirit. You ain't even had to do Mark like that. I was like, damn, they done got Mark. But that's how I was at the end of the book. I was like, damn, they done got Mark. And Julia's ex-partner, I don't even know how he was a cop. Anyway, good book. If you love mystery, thrillers, throw some science fiction up in there, definitely check out Extremity by Nicholas Binge. It was so freaking good. And it's novella length. You'll get through it just like that. I read that book in one sitting. That's how good it was. One sitting, y'all. Anyway, next book is Will and Prey by Allie, Oleander. This is an ARC that I received through Berkeley. This is a Primal play romance. And basically inside of this book, we have Claire, who is in debt because of her stupid ass ex-husband, okay? And she has to get out of this debt, and she agrees basically to go inside of this Primal play relationship with this guy. Hires her to go inside of, to chase her ass around the woods sometimes, and have some freaky sex. And Claire's game because Claire likes Primal play. And the guy that invites her to do this knows this because, and basically Claire ends up with her ex-husband's boss, because her ex-husband went to work just telling all the business. Ooh, bitch ass. Anyway, he would go to work and run a mouth, and this is how Shane, who is her husband's boss, finds out that Claire's into Primal play. So he's the one that actually like invites her to to do this. I think it was like for a month or whatever, and then he would help her pay, he would give her the money to pay off the debt. This book was so freaking good. I enjoyed this book. I ended up rating it 5 stars. Because I just enjoyed Claire. Claire stood on business when it came to that damn ex-husband. You know, sometimes you get these romances and, you know, it's like, oh, I think I'm going to go back. Oh, I'm so confused. I don't know. Claire was like, get your ass out of my face. Go back over there with that lady you left me for and get the hell out of my face. I was here for Claire. Claire was not playing. And I just liked the vibes between her and Shane. And then we kind of find out that Shane is like a low-key stalker or whatever, because he was like stalking Claire or whatever. But it was a really good romance. I liked it. This is like, I've read Primal play romances before. They probably called them something else when I was reading them. God, I sound old. But anyway, I really enjoyed this book and I ended up rating it 5 stars because I was a fan of Claire. Claire, listen. Mr. Millionaire, Billionaire, where are you? Because I'll do some Primal play. At this time, in this economy, shit, any woman would be crazy to turn that down. Anyway, next book is Forever in Alaska by Belle Calhoune. This is the 3rd book in her Moose Falls, Alaska series. And this is the 3rd brother's book, the baby brother's book, Landon. And basically we have Landon who returns back to Moose Falls, which is the small little town in Alaska where his grandmother owns this brewery. His grandmother is like self-made, you know, a rich old bird, okay? And she runs like this brewery and owns this brewery where they make their own kind of like, what are they, those spiked beers or whatever. And he comes back to Moose, Alaska, because the lab that he worked, he's like a scientist or whatever, and he worked in the lab. But anyway, he comes back to the lab because the lab that he was working at previously, you know, some shit went down, and his grandmother's like, hey, why don't you just come work in the lab, you know, switch your lab careers around or whatever, switch your side, you know, put your, you know, switch your nerd hat around and do something different. And he decides to do that, and in here he runs into Belle, and basically we get a romance between him and Belle. It's like a office romance because Belle works at the brewery as well. Basically his grandma's brewery is kind of like funding this little town or whatever. For the most part, I liked the book. I thought it was cute. The pacing took me out of the story sometimes. I like the vibes between Landon and Belle. It's a really cute Christmas Hallmarky type romance, so if you love those, definitely test it out. There are some heavy themes in here because we have you know, Landon where he's dealing with his grandmother. His grandmother's sick, so you know they're dealing with that. And then we have Belle where, you know, she's having some issues with her moms and her sisters. Trigger warning, content warning for death of a parent, which is Belle's dad. So you know they have like all these unresolved issues around that, and I think sometimes that kind of like overpowered this romance that was going on between Belle and Landon. But for the most part, it's a really cute, you know, like if you just love the you know, the Hallmark holiday romances that come on every year, then this is definitely just a really cute romance. You know, small town, Christmas lights everywhere, you know, decorations everywhere, and you have these two people, you know, that come together and they fall in love, and I'm here for it. I like the book. I ended up rating this one 3.5 stars because it was a cute read. I can't wait until I get Hallmark start their little romances or whatever. I gotta look and see when they start. They probably gonna start soon, probably right after Thanksgiving, huh? Anyway, next book is going to be Paranormal Love from an Immortal Thug by Tasha Marie. This is one of the Halloween books that I was able to get read during the month of October, and for the most part I liked the book. I ended up giving it 3 stars. And basically we have this romance that develops between Wednesday, yes, that is her name, Wednesday, and basically Wednesday and her girlfriends on Halloween night, or I think it was the night before, something like that. Anyway, they conjure up Kali. Kali is this ghost who's able to be conjured by women during the All Hallows Eve, you know, time or whatever. And I think they get to keep him for like a a weekend or something like that. But anyway, he's able to be conjured during this time, and basically by women. And these women, whatever they want Khalid, basically, he was a whole thug, okay? He came back and he gave these women what they needed, during that time. And this time it's Belle's turn. And there's this instant attraction that go on between them. And now we have it where basically pretty much throughout the book where Bailey and Khalid pretty much fall so much in love that they decide that they have to figure out a way to keep him from, going back or returning to what he was initially. So yeah. This was an okay book for me. I liked it for the most part. I don't know. I just didn't get the vibes between Belly and Khalid. They were. Listen, it's a novella. It's a novelette, novella length Halloween romances. And if that's your judge, then definitely check this one out. Okay, and then next book we have is Don't Run, a Halloween short by another book that I was able to get read by Shon this month. I love this book. This is another Primal play romance, and basically inside this one we have Micah, who gets this mysterious invite from someone and for Halloween night. She gets invited to a sex club. And Micah just loves that because Micah is a very much a sexual being, enjoys her sexuality. She just ain't got no man. But when she gets invited to this Halloween party during the at the sex club, she's just like super excited. She doesn't know who the invite comes from, but basically twist for this book, we find out that Micah's boss kind of like has a thing for her or whatever. Micah, she likes her boss. I think there was low-key, little attraction simmering there. But Micah's just like, oh, you a square, you're not really into the things that I'm really into and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it was a good story because like we're pretty much surprised that she gets the invite that we know, but Micah doesn't know that the invite comes from her boss because he likes her. Low-key, damn near stalking the lady or whatever. Like the book gave really cute a Halloween Primal play stalker vibes. Like very, very good. I enjoyed this one. I ended up giving Don't Run 4 stars because cute. But I'm pretty much here for anything Shon puts out. And then next book is, I read 2 books inside of the Babes Reimagined series. This is a series written by, several different Black romance authors. And these are short stories, pretty much novelette, novella length books where they're doing these reimagined, fairy tales or whatever. So this one is Reddick's Tale by L. Wright. And inside of this book, we have Reddick, who returns home because somebody trying to play on his grandma's top, and Reddick ain't got no time for that, right? So he's there to find out who was trying to play on his grandma's top, okay? And he's pissed and he wants answers like right now. But Reddick has these issues with this town, and then we have Devin, who he had this past relationship with. So we're basically like getting this reconnecting love kind of the story. Devin comes in and like help saves the grandma or whatever, because she's in like on the medical side of things or whatever. It was a cute reimagining. I liked it a lot. Ended up giving it 4 stars. I just liked Reddick and Bailey together. It didn't give me a whole lot of the the mystery thriller vibes that I thought it would, but it was cute. This is a reimagining of The Big Bad Wolf and Red Riding Hood. It was just really, really cute. I liked it. And then we have The Vampire That Tried It by Marcia Black. This is a debut author. And this is her debut book. I like this book for the most part. Inside of this story, we have, what is her name? Sia or Sai. We have Sai, who comes in, try to save her brother, and gets caught up in some vampire politics, and she suddenly becomes head of this vampire house to pretty much save her life and her brother's life. And pretty much throughout this book, we have it where she is trying to maneuver through these vampire politics while also not trying to get murdered by some of these damn vampires. And in comes Hakeem, who is her fated mate. Sai doesn't know that they're fated mate initially, but Hakeem knows, and kind of like low-key in the background, Hakeem is kind of like setting it up where, you know, she's being put into the position because he wants them to be together. This is a cute vampire romance. I liked it. I like the vibes between Hakeem and Sai. I will say my only issue with the book was the pacing. This is a long book, like over 400 pages. So the pacing just kind of like sometimes, you know, just took me out of it. I think the world building is very well done inside of the story. We get a well told story, you know, of like vampire politics, and then we kind of find out that Sai isn't completely wholly human. Like, you know, she has like this witch ancestry, both her and her brother going on with her and stuff like that. So it's a very cool world building. I ended up rating The Vampire That Tried It, I ended up rating it 3.75 stars. Enjoyed the story. World building was really well done or whatever, but it was just like the pacing, because like I said, this is it is a very long book, you know, and sometimes we have some repetitiveness going on inside of it or whatever, and it's very much slow burn as well, because Sai is pretty much fighting this attraction like to the goddamn bitter and I was like, girl. But yeah, so it's slow burn romance as well, and I'm not a big fan of slow burn romances, but I get that is a big thing inside of these paranormal romances, especially when they're long or whatever. So yeah, but good job for her first book. And then last but not least, this is the second book I've read inside of the Bay's Reimagined series, and it is Snowden's Tale by Sherelle Green. This is a retelling of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and the Snow Queen. I like this book for the most part. I'll tell you right now, I rated it 3 stars. And basically inside of this book, we have Snowden, who is this assassin, kind of like semi-retired, but you know, if the mob call him, he gonna be back on it, okay? And he's called into this job with this woman that he used to do, you know, these assassin jobs with or whatever, but they have this really messed up history or whatever. They have history, but it ain't good history, because Isis is her name. She initially ended up betraying Snowden or whatever, but now they're brought back together to do this job for this mob that they work for or whatever. And for the most part, I like the book. Listen, give me a story with badass assassins. I love it. I loved Snowden and I loved Isis. I loved them getting back together, whatever. I will say that my only issue with the book was I just felt like sometimes, like, we get a lot of Snowden. I would have liked to have seen more of Isis backstory on page, and also like her, like why she betrayed Snowden is on page, but I just kind of like felt like it was rushed through. It was kind of like, oh, let me hurry up and add this in, like, you know, almost kind of like, oh shit, I forgot, let me hurry up and add this in or whatever. To me, that's what it read as. But it was a pretty okay book. I love the whole Ice King Queen vibes that we got from Isis. And then with Snowden, you know, he had his little group of 7 assassins that he brought in with him, whatever, and they kind of like reconnect because ISIS, you know, got cool with them and stuff like that. So they all kind of like reconnect, and like he has like these 7 dudes that worked for him, and you know they all have like the, you know, the 7 dwarfs name or whatever. So I would just say if you like assassins and, you know, revenge plots or whatever, it's a good story. I just had some issues with, you know, the way some things, I feel like some things were rushed through and not fully, you know, explained, if that makes sense. But yeah, it was cute. Okay guys, that is it for me. Those are all the books that I read for the month of October. And until the next one, later days. Bye.